you really carried the fight to the enemy. And you fought hard, and you fought extremely well. And you ought to feel good about what you did. Came down here to fight our country's battles if we had to. And we had to, and we did it fast.
Jayhawk. Ladies and gentlemen, no further introduction is needed. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome the Commanding General of 7th Corps, the founding chairman of the Desert Storm Veterans Association, and my dear friend, General Fred Franks.
Thank you. I didn't want to begin until they got those colors in place. Hey, welcome everybody. What a great and historic evening this is together. 7 Corps veterans and families. My wife Denise this year from home in Florida, she told me to especially send you her own personal greetings. And she'd be here if she could. Both remain honored to be among your company as we were 33 years ago. Stuttgart, headquarters 7th Corps, and then of course deployed with 146,000 of you and the families at home. So as your former commander and his wife, be 65 years for us this June. So, well, thank you. I'll pass that on to her too as well. Thank you. Let me add my own personal welcome to that of Mark Rado to this, our 33rd reunion and commemoration of our 250 kilometers to 300 kilometers successful attack to victory as part of the coalition that liberated Kuwait 33 years ago. Distinguished guests, Mark's already recognized, General and Mrs. Shinseki, Lynn Raymond and family, Dr. Curtis Griffith, Guy Swan, as I said to him earlier, 5-0 to 5-7, that's a little inside Black Horse 11th ACR communication. Rose Makarat Slade, thank you for your generosity. And to Mr. Mario Miranda and his organization and his wise advice on our board, we couldn't do without you. Thank you as well. And I want to add a message from General Butch Funk, who's recovering from COVID in his ranch down in Texas. I asked Butch if he had any special message for you today. He said, you remember when we used to talk about winning the first battle of the next war? And he said, I'm convinced, and I've been convinced ever since, that we won that first battle of the next war and the ones right after it, and won that first battle in the best way in the history of the United States Army. And you recall there was a book at one time called First Battles. It's still in print. Talked about the Army's record in first battles, and it wasn't too great. This one was. Thanks to all of you. And I also received an unprompted email from Rupert Smith, who commanded, Major General commanding the Commanding General of the British First Armored Division. And he said the sense of comradeship and shared endeavor was evident in all that we did at all levels in the Corps. I know that my division would wish me to express their appreciation of their American comrades and wish them good fortune in the coming years. So this is an evening now that caps 2+ full days to reflect and remember what we did together with the visit to the museum yesterday, as Chaplain mentioned in his prayer, with the visits by our association to Arlington yesterday, to our sessions this morning, our own meeting and spirited conversation and comments, to our VA panel arranged by John Gingrich and Dr. Romer. We're so very grateful for you arranging that today. To remember and reflect, as we did with Chaplain Dave O'Connell, and actually Wayne Larry returned today, and great and moving remarks by Command Sergeant Major Joe T. Hill at our memorial service today. So I want to say in a few words, but maybe more than I intended, but let me first also add to what Mark said about our board. As chairman of your Desert Storm Veteran Association of the board, thanks to Mark Rado, who now has got a senior important job in the G1 and Wiesbaden headquarters, Army Europe and Army Africa, for his great devoted leadership to our association and for pulling together this great reunion with the board that Mark mentioned, and for their gift of their time and talents to arrange this entire reunion. And true to our promise to our fallen comrades and to each other to always remember, and for your faithful and wise governance of our association, especially our scholarship program, with now over $500,000 dedicated in the memory of our 111 fallen for our scholarships. Now, as you recall, we were supposed to attack on the 25th, the second day, BMNT, second day. And about 9:30 that morning, John Yosak, 3rd Army Commander, called me and said, "Fred, the SINC would like to go early. Can you go early?" Now, I took that as a rhetorical question. But what I answered back to him was, John, with the talent we've got in this Corps, and I truly believe that, I said, we can do anything out here. We can do anything. And so we ended up going early. And I said, just give me a little time to talk to all my commanders. And I went out and actually talked personally with Tom Rame. And he said, "Hey, boss, we can go right now." Typical Tom Rame. And I talked to all the rest of the commanders, to include Rupert Smith, and everybody was all, and so we were ready to go before noon that day, and we ended up, we moved it up a little bit with a second ACR about 3 o'clock. And true to my boast to General Yosak, we did do about everything in that attack in 89 hours. And I always said 250-kilometer attack, and Mark Gurgis, who's a professor out at Command General Staff College, says the odometers on his tanks, Company B, 270th Armor, in the 2nd Brigade of the 1st Armor Division, he said my odometers were over 300 kilometers, so I've amended that a little bit to say 250 to 300 kilometers. But I think we executed about every offensive maneuver there is in the attack doctrine of the United States Army now and previously. Breach of a complex minefield, a enveloping maneuver to contact, actually led by a cavalry regiment, 2nd ACR, movement of an armored division through that breached minefield through another division and conducting their own hasty and deliberate attacks over to Highway 8. And then a 3-division fist turning movement, envelopment, we call it a left hook, with deliberate and hasty attacks, with divisions expanding 1st Armored Division from a 2-brigade front to 3-brigade front, 3rd Armored Division passing a 1 brigade through another to keep the momentum of the attack going, all the while with magnificent combat service support by our expanded COSCOM from 8,000 to 26,000, to our artillery, which fired 55,000 cannon rounds and over 10,500 MLRS and 25 ATACMS missions, to our aviation conducting deep attacks, and prior to all that, to the 1st Cavalry Division conducting raids and demonstrations that caused the Iraqis to think we were going to attack much more shallow, when in fact we were coming in a much wider turning movement. And artillery raids that were planned and conducted by the Corps Artillery, Command Sergeant Major Harold Shrewsbury, where we attacked the artillery in range of the breach by the Big Red One. All of that. You all did all of that. So it was no magic to what we did. No magic. Just good, hard soldiering, toughness, combat leadership, discipline, combat teamwork under fire, extraordinary acts of bravery and courage, initiative by the COSCOM to establish log base Nelligan with over 1 million gallons of fuel, which cut the turnaround of our fuel tankers by about 12 hours and allowed us to maintain the momentum of the attack. Corps artillery brigades leaving the prep for the breach and joining their attacking divisions on the move, 75th to the 1st Armored and the 42nd to the 3rd Armored Division. 2nd Cavalry Regiment out in front of, as a cavalry regiment should be, destroying a security zone of the Tawakana Division in the hasty attacks, what was known as the Battle of 73 Easting. Magnificent. And you did all that. And so when I said to John Yosak, John, we can do anything out here, I wasn't much kidding. But it wasn't preordained. It was not preordained. We had a lot of potential. We knew that. The Army had been undergoing a renaissance for about 20 years to get itself combat ready, razor sharp training edge. But it wasn't preordained. We do a disservice to those of you who were there in those positions, in those turrets, in those artillery pieces, flying those Apaches, running those fuel convoys, any ammunition convoys, over 5 tons a day, had to go execute and make it happen. And so I always think, when I hear a lot of, sometimes people talk about, well, it was just, just pretty easy and automatic. Now, as I said in the Jayhawk magazine, it was fast, but it sure wasn't easy. You made it look easy because you were so good. at what you did and trained so well. So thanks to all of you with deep affection and respect for all of that and for all of that we did together. I'm enormously proud and humbled to have been your commander and to walk in your ranks and see you here at this reunion today and tonight. And I did want to say that I also wanted to say that pay some special respects to our families who stayed in those forward deployed locations. General Carbono came over as Chief of Staff at the time, and he said, Freddie, you got to convince our families to stay at home because we don't have the airlift to move them all back home. And I said, sir, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And the families stayed and served with their own brand of courage in our forward deployed locations, at Fort Riley also as well, and at then Fort Hood, now Fort Cavazos, with the 1st Cavalry Division, and of course with our UK partners. And they made things up as they went along, creative initiative, because there were no family readiness groups in those days, and some of the things that our families did through their own initiative and their own spirit of, hey, we can do this, led to the programs that established Army family readiness groups and are there today. So it was a innovative, creative toughness from our spouses and families, and our collective and great respect and thanks to our wise, courageous, and innovative family members who are here tonight and all over the United States of America and the United Kingdom. God bless you for what you did 33 years ago and for the path you began for family readiness groups, a story I don't think yet fully told. So I'm truly humbled to stand before you as your former commander. You fought and won the largest tank battle in the history of the United States Army as authenticated by the Army War College. Magnificent. And you ought to be proud of that and continue to be proud of that for the rest of your lives. How blessed we were to serve with you both at home and on the battlefield. And I'll never, ever forget it. And time does not dim the memories of what we did together. Thank you. God bless you. And now for the scholarship presentation, which is an impressive investment we started to make right after we formed the Desert Storm Veteran Association as our investment in a future that our 111 fallen gave their lives for 33 years ago. Thank you very much. God bless. Enjoy your dinner after the scholarship presentation. And we look forward to our address by our keynote speaker and our special guest of honor, General Rick Shinseki, a little bit later. Thank you very much. Jay Hawk.
I just told the boss that I'm so glad we're recording this. The entire evening is being recorded, so please make sure you use the right fork, right spoon, all that stuff. Don't want to get sideways with etiquette while you're on screen. But hey, do me a favor, Colonel Kim, give me one of those sheets on the table with the. No, not that. You took my sheet, boss, but that's okay. You could take anything you need, just so you know. Boss mentioned the scholarship program. We are just so proud of this scholarship program. On your tables, is a couple of copies of the entire list of scholarship winners from the inception of the program, when the first scholarships were awarded in 1997, through the scholarships that we're awarding today, for a grand total of 255 scholarships for $554,250. Just incredible. As General Franks mentioned, these scholarships are awarded every year on behalf of the 111 brave 7th Corps soldiers who gave, as President Lincoln said in his Gettysburg Address, the last full measure of devotion. We are so proud of this program, and the events that we conduct every year go to this program. Look at the names on here. There are some phenomenal names. There are some historic names. Not only are there names of children, now there's names of grandchildren. This program has just sustained so many young children, so many young folks with their education, and this year we provided scholarships to 2 Desert Storm veterans. Great stories, all that folks going back to college, reinventing themselves later on in life, just phenomenally talented people and phenomenally deserving students. So we are so very proud of this. Here's the hook. These things don't happen by accident. They take generosity. They take support. They take our phenomenal sponsors that pay the lion's share of these events so that we can continue to fund our scholarship program, can cut down on any administrative expenses that we may have as an organization. So how many people have been to one of these dinners before? Raise your hand. If you've been to one of these dinners before, raise your hand. Okay, so you all know what's coming. You all know what's coming. Those of you that have not been to one of our dinners before, reach in your pockets right now, because Command Sergeant Major Shrewsbury and Command Sergeant Major McNerney are going to be passing the hat to help us continue to fund great young Americans and some older Americans continue on education and get their college degrees. So those great sergeants majors are coming through right now, and Sergeant First Class Tom Vanette's going to be helping them out. And so please reach on in your pockets. They're coming around to your tables. Be generous, dig deep. Don't worry about lunch money for Monday. Monday's a holiday. You don't need lunch money on Monday. So please take a moment to give back to this organization. We appreciate everything you do. Sergeant Major's coming around. Sergeant Major Shrewsbury will strong-arm you. Sergeant Major McNerney, he's kinder and gentler. But Sergeant Major Shrewsbury's coming after you. And the quicker we fill the buckets and the hats and the helmets, the quicker we eat chow, just so you know. Okay, I think we're doing, and we'll Sergeant Major Shrewsbury will total it up and give us a number here before the end of the evening, so we'll just know just exactly how generous. And if the number's not high enough, we'll just pass the hat again. All right, I just want you to know that we train to standard, not the time here. Okay, I just want you to know that. Okay, I think the great NCOs are finishing up. I appreciate that. Okay, I hope you've been eating your salad, because I guarantee you those doors are going to open here in just a second, and they're going to be coming out with your dinner. So please, folks, enjoy your dinner. Thank you very, very much for everything. Appreciate your being here tonight, and I'll be back in a bit to chat a little bit more.